G'day everyone, this is James here, back for another episode on how to create your own scripted scenario historical battle, whatever you want to call it. Now in previous episodes, we've gotten all of our units here on the battle map and we've lined them up and positioned them where we want them, both our units and the enemy's units. Now let's start creating the cutscene that will play at the start of the battle. So for this cutscene, before we get into camera movement, first we want to determine what the units will be doing, what movements they'll be doing. So a very easy bit of unit movement that you can do is just make every single unit spawn at the start of the cutscene 50 meters backwards from where they are here. So for example, this unit here will instead be here, and during the cutscene they'll just be walking into position. And that's incredibly easy, and I'll show you how to do that now. So we're just going to exit our battle. We're going to go to our scripts, and first of all we want to go to forward device and commands.lua, which is in our script folder, and it's this one here. And what we want to do is we want to comment out this halt command. So the way we do that is we're just going to add 2 dashes to the start of it, and we'll save. That's because at the moment this command is telling all units to stop moving. And we don't actually want that because we want them to move during the cutscene, so we'll comment that out. Now in start.lua, we no longer need to worry about positioning our units. We're done with this portion of the script. So to spare our historical battle camera log being clogged up with data, we're just going to comment this out by doing 2 dashes, 2 open square brackets, 2 dashes, 2 open close brackets, and that'll comment out all of this and disable it for now. We'll now go to our cutscenes.lua, and there's a few things we want to do here. First of all, let's change the cutscene duration to 1000 milliseconds, so 1 second. Now, let's comment out this function here. What this does is means that the camera will actually be, will fade in at the start, so it'll be black for half a second, which we don't really want because we want to be able to see everything that's going on. We now want to enable these 2 functions, and we want to change this from 35 to 50. So what these 2 functions do is that they, as I said, the units will be teleported from their start location. They'll be offset minus 50 meters, and their start location is their location that's in the battle.xml here. So we've enabled both of those. We now want to enable both of these as well, which tells the players that they're going to walk to their start location. Now where it says false here, that means that they're walking. If you wanted them to run, you'd change that to true, but we don't want to change that just yet. And I'll just check if there's anything else. No, there's nothing else we want to. We also want to enable both of these. So what these 2 functions mean is that if the player chooses to skip your cutscene by clicking escape, the units will automatically be teleported to their start location. Now it says teleport to start location offset, but it's just got 2 brackets here, which means that there's no coordinates we're telling them to offset it by, so they're just going exactly to the start coordinates. So let's save this, and we'll open up our battle, and let's see what it looks like. We're in game, and we're going to click Start Battle. And you can see, if we hold down spacebar, you can see all of the units are slowly moving. However, you can see back here, especially these units here on the bend, it looks a bit ugly. If we zoom over here to infantry, which are just walking, you can see it looks quite good actually. Although there is a slight difference in unit movement, which will be dependent on the individual units and your mod. Now if we look at these infantry units, if we pause it now, you can see it took about 33 seconds for them to all walk 50 meters. Whereas this archer unit here, if we start the game back up again, is still moving, and this unit will probably take about 40 seconds to reach position. So a 40-second, you could have potentially a 40-second cutscene here, which is an alright length. You don't want it too long, you don't want it too short. 40 seconds should be enough. But it does look a bit janky at times. So, if you want to go a bit more advanced, we can do that. So we're going to concede defeat again, and we're going to go back to our cutscenes.lua. And what we're going to do is we're going to disable both of these scripts then. We don't want them to be, we don't want this script anymore, and we don't want this script anymore, and we're just going to save the file. Then what we want to do is we want to go back to our start.lua, and we want to enable this unit movement script that I've created. Now what this script does is that it logs the position of the units, and you can queue up multiple movement orders so that the unit can move around that bend more smoothly. So we're going to save the game, we're going to, and we're going to reopen the battle. Whilst that's happening, we're going to go back to our historical battle camera log, and we'll just clear it and save that. Okay, so we're in game now. Now what we want each unit to do is, as you saw before, as they're coming around this curve, it looked a bit janky. So beforehand, we were starting units backwards and they were walking to position. This time, they're going to be walking forwards from their start position during the cutscene. So what we want to do is first, we just want the position of every unit where they are now. So we're just going to start the battle. And that'll log their positions right there. If we open the camera battle log, we've got all of this stuff now. Now we're going to concede defeat, but this time we're going to click rematch. That's because we haven't changed any of the script, so we are allowed to just click rematch rather than going back to the main menu. And this will load up in a second. And now we're going to grab our backmost units and we're going to move them to the front. So for example, we're going to grab this guy, and we're going to move him up here using Alt, holding Alt and clicking right. And so he's going to be in front. Now this guy, and let's add a third guy. Like that. That's a bit too close actually. Just a tiny bit further. There, that should be good. And we haven't touched this guy because he's our one with guerrilla deployment who's broken and we can't move him around. So he doesn't get to be involved in the fun just yet. But you can see here, so our first unit is going to move here, then here, then here. This guy would move here, then here, then here, and go around the bend in a smooth movement. So we're going to start the battle to grab that log again, and we're going to pause it. Now we've got this extra info, and we need to remember that these three guys are actually unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 are at the front here. So we're going to grab players 6, 7 and 8, and we're just going to move them up to the top so we don't forget. And we're going to save this. Now we're going to exit the battle, and now we need to start queuing the orders up, of course. So just thinking how to do this. Let's just change all of these to Unit 1. We'll just do Unit 1 as an example. So he starts, okay, so he doesn't need that one. So Unit 1 we'll go to this position first, then this one, then this one. But of course we need them the other way round, so we need these at the bottom like that, so it's going backwards. Now, it says go to location angle width. If we go back to Google and we type in Total War Killer tit scripting, and we go to battle script documentation, we can, if we type in go to location, you can see that if you want to queue an order, you need to add underscore queue to the end. So this one here, we want to add a queue, and this one, we want to add a queue to them. And then we'll just save this data, and we will now go to our cutscenes.lua, and we'll just plonk it here underneath the cutscene intro action, and we'll just save that. And now, if we open up the battle, and we'll start the battle, and over here, you can see him go. And you can see that first, if we hold down space, first he's moving to a checkpoint here. If you speed up the game, you can then see that he's going to be moving to here. And then finally, he's going to be moving there. But overall, look, that wasn't too exciting, because he's just going in a straight line. Maybe we want to do something a bit more creative. Let's do as an S shape or something. So we're going to quit the battle, and we're going to click rematch again. We're going to go to our historical battle camera log, and we're just going to wipe this clear and save it. And let's say that we want this unit to go to here, to here, to here, and to here. So we're going to move, so we've got, this is unit 8, and we want him to go here. Then we want him to go there, and then let's say we want him to go here, then there, and then like that. That might be a bit, let's make it like that. So you want him to be doing that. So we want to note down which units we want him to do. So we're just going to make a quick note here. Unit 8, first we want him to go to where Unit 6 is. Then this will be Unit 4. Then 3, 2, 1. And we'll save that. And I moved him a little bit, but that doesn't matter. And we'll start the battle. We'll wait for the log to kick in, then we'll pause it, we'll reload the historical battle camera log, and we want the positions for Unit 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So we don't need 5, and we want 6, and we can get rid of all of that. Now, we want to put them in this order here, because at the moment, he'd be starting from the back, and he'd be going backwards. So you want Unit 6 up there, then 4, sorry, that was a mistake. Then 3, then 2, and then 1. And we want to make sure they're all the same width, just so his formation isn't changing as he goes. And we want to change all of these to Unit 8. And now here it says false. I might have already explained, but this means that the unit will be walking. If you change that to true, the unit would be running. So we're just going to save this, then we're going to grab this, go to our cutscenes.lua, and we're going to plonk this down below Unit 1, and we're going to save that. Before we go back in game, I've just noticed a quick error. So I forgot to add the Q movement to the end of all of these, which would mean that if we didn't have this Q order, the unit would just go directly to the final line. He'd ignore everything up here. So we're going to add the Q order. We're going to save that, and we're going to launch the game again. And let's start the battle and see what our guy is up to.
Our troops are being ambushed!
And now if we speed it up a bit, you can see that he's going first of all to a waypoint here, I believe. Then he's going to around here or there. Then he's going up here, then there, then there. And so you can see that this is a way that you can script a unit's movement if you want something a bit more complicated than them just walking in a straight line. And it does look quite good as they turn the corners. The unit knows what to do. Just make sure it's not too tight a corner, like that one perhaps. But no, it does end up looking quite good. Let's just see what happens at the end. You can see at the end it's a little bit weird, the unit's flipping around to look downwards. That's likely just a mistake in the way I oriented the unit. But overall, look, that's alright. We've got the unit movement working fairly well. We need to remember, however, that the player might not appreciate all of the hard work we put into our cutscene, and they might end up skipping the cutscene. If we restart the battle, we might be able to show you what happens if that happens. So I've skipped the cutscene here, and you can see that none of the units are moving, because I've skipped it before those movement orders can be ordered. So that's not great, because during your cutscene, you told your unit that you wanted to end up over here. So that's where you planned your entire battle perhaps around the unit being up here when it starts, whereas the unit is still back here. So what you need to do is you need to implement a unit teleport order. So we're going to enable both of these scripts down here, this script down here, the unit teleport script. And then we're just going to go back in game. And we're going to clear up our historical battle camera log a little bit, just so we've still got this. And now we're going to start the game again. We're going to pause it. And it's done both. Oh well. You can see that we've now got a unit teleport script here. And it's telling the unit that it wants the unit to go to teleport to unit location and wants it to go to here. So what we can do is we can actually just steal that from our previous script. So if we go to our cutscenes.lua, we can grab both of these scripts here, paste them back in, whoops, and we only want the final movement order here. So we'll grab both of these, and all we want to do is we want to copy this, and we want to make one for player 8, and we'll just copy from here. So we want from the bracket the V, and we want to copy to where it says 21, and we want to paste that in here, and then we want that bracket to stay at the bracket and the semicolon to stay at the end there. Then we want to do the same up here. Oops. And we want to grab both of these orders. We'll copy them, and down here we'll just paste them, whoops, here. Oh god, what have I done? And we're also going to comment out both of these teleport to start location offsets, because these would be if we were using, excuse me, these commands here, the teleport to start location 50 meters behind. But we aren't using that, so we want the units, if we skip the cutscene, we want the units to teleport to their end location. So Unit 8, 533 by 9, Unit 1, 345 by 122. And we're going to concede defeat. And we're going to start her up again. Now, if you're having trouble clicking escape in time, you can just make your cutscene longer. For example, make it 10 seconds or 5 seconds, and then you'll have more time to skip it, just to trial it out. But here we're going to click escape, we're going to pause the battle, and you can see that both of our units have been teleported to their end location, which is where we want them to end up. And it's looking all good. Now, for the next part, we're going to be focusing on camera movement. So I'll just pause the battle here. Pause the video here while I just refresh, and then we'll get back into it. Before we get into the camera movement, I just wanted to touch on the unit movement scripts again. So as you can see here, there are a number of scripts and behaviors that you can tell units to do during cutscenes. So for example, you can turn off fire at will. You can make a unit invincible, so that during the cutscene archers are firing at the unit, but the unit won't actually have taken any damage when the battle starts. You can then also, for example, do a command to replenish all of those units' ammo back to full after they've fired at the unit. And you can also tell one unit to attack a specific unit. And you can find all of these commands and more in the Total War Attila kit scripting and battle script documentation. And there's a lot of very useful information in here if you want to make it your battle just that much more interesting. And I'll leave that to you to have a look at. G'day everyone, welcome back to the next part of this episode. We've already gone over unit movements, now we're going to go over camera movements during the cutscene. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go to our script folder and we want to go to start.lua. And we want to edit out all of these scripts down here, because we no longer need to use them. And we're going to save that and exit. Now we're going to go to our cutscenes.lua. And first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out all of this stuff here, because we're not actually going to use those example unit movements which I made last time. Instead, we're going to use these ones here. And just to remind ourselves, let's write in here, let's put that in here, just so we remind ourselves, actually let's make it bigger, what this is. And this is the unit movement script here. And we want to re-enable these as well. So we're just going to make the units walk 50 meters from their Y offset. And we'll change this, we'll copy this, and this will be our camera movement script down here. And so for our cutscene, all that's going to happen is the units are going to be marching 50 meters from the back. Now we want to make sure that our cutscene is set to 1 second, or 1000 milliseconds, and we'll save this here. We'll also delete this, delete that, and delete that. And we can, we may as well move this back up here to the unit movement script, and we'll save that. That looks all good. Now let's go in game and we'll launch it up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click battle, then as soon as the battle starts we're going to click P to pause the battle. So we'll click it. I'll wait for the cutscene to end, then click P. Now we'll come down here and we'll make our cutscene around these infantry. Now if I hold down spacebar you can see they're all marching here like we did last time. And so to do our cutscene script, what we want to do is we want to go down to this button here, which is your faction flag, and we want to left click on this button. We now want to Alt tab out, and we want to go to our historical battle camera log. And you can see that it's created this script here, which we'll just copy and paste into our unit movement script. And you can see this is cutscene intro, which you can see at the top. That's the name of our cutscene. You can also see it here. So the cutscene name would be intro. Then it's asking you, it's saying the camera will start at these coordinates and it'll be looking at these coordinates. So it's saying at the moment the camera is at 219.47.576, and over there where it's looking is 138 minus 10 444. Now it's asking you for the cutscene length. This is in seconds. So I generally do them in pairs, like you can see up here. So the first shot, then the second shot. So since this is the first shot, the cutscene length is always 0 seconds. It's then asking you for the field of view that you want your cutscene to be. So for example, 45 degrees if you want a kind of narrow shot, or 90 degrees if you want a very wide shot. I think 75 degrees is what the game is by default, but I'm not quite sure. Then it wants to know in milliseconds when the cutscene is going to start. Because this is the very first shot, it'll be 0 milliseconds because it'll start straight away. But let's delete that and let's actually queue up a cutscene. Why can't I delete that? Let's actually make a cutscene. So we'll clear our historical battle camera log, and let's say we want the camera to start here. So we'll click the button and we can see it's generated that. Then we'll look up here and we'll wait for 4 more seconds to pass. We'll wait till it goes to 59.55. And we'll pause it. And now let's say we want our camera to be here. So we'll click it again. And it's generated a second camera log. So what I like to do is I'll delete this and I'll delete this so they're right next to each other. And I'll put double dashes so this isn't part of the script. And I'm going to write infantry marching 0 to 5 seconds. So that's a reminder to me that this script is of the infantry marching, and it's going to go from immediately, as soon as game starts, to 5 seconds in. So then I want my second shot, and let's say I want it to start maybe here. And I'm going to click that button again, and we're going to unpause the game. We'll wait a few seconds, then let's pause it again, and let's say I want the camera to move down to here. And we'll click the button again. And we'll do the same thing. And we'll save that. And let's just do one more shot. We'll do a wide shot all the way out here. Click the button, and then we'll wait another, let's say 7 seconds this time. And we want the camera to have gone from here all the way down to, let's say, here. So now it's turned around a little bit. And maybe up a bit, like that. And we'll click that. And we'll rename this to... And we'll delete that. Save this. And let's copy and paste all of this and put it into our camera movement script. So first of all, we're going to highlight where it says cutscene name, click Control F, and replace that by cutscene_intro, and click replace all. Now we want our cutscene length. Like I said, the first one of every pair should be at 0 in seconds. Then the next one, this will be 5 seconds long, this will be 5 seconds long, and this will be 7 seconds long. Now the field of view, I like a fairly tight field of view. I reckon 30 should be good. So we'll copy and paste that. And then start time. This is in milliseconds. So the first two are always at 0. Then the next ones should be at 5,000. And these ones should be at 10,000. And we'll save that. Now, let's say we want the camera to fade in and out between each of these cuts. So I've got a script here which I'll just copy over. And I'll put it on top. And you can see that's telling the camera true to fade out and saying take 1 second to fade out. And this is going to happen at 4 seconds in. Then it's saying fade back in, false. Again, take a second to do this, and the camera will be back in 5 seconds in. And we'll do that down here as well, and we'll change this to 9 seconds and 10 seconds. And let's save that. And do we want anything else? Then we need to remember that, let's say this is our final shot. This is where we want the camera to end when the cutscene ends. So you can see here, we've got a script at the bottom which is saying camera move to this position, camera cutscene intro final, and target camera cutscene intro final at the end of 10 seconds. So we'll change that to 17 seconds because we don't want the camera to move to this position until 17 seconds have elapsed, which is the end of our cutscene. So first we'll copy and paste these first 3 coordinates here. We'll go up to the top and we'll copy them here where it says position camera cutscene intro final. And then we'll grab this second set of coordinates here and we'll put that in target. And then we'll also change the duration of the cutscene to 17 seconds up here, and we'll save the game. I'm just checking whether we've got the script for if we skip the cutscene. Yep, so you can see it's here. So if the intro can be skipped, and it's saying if the intro is skipped, the camera will go to these coordinates up here as well. So it's planning ahead for that. So let's just exit. Yep, that's all saved. And then let's see what it looks like in game. And we'll click Start Battle. And you can see that is way too tight. You can't see anything. That one again, way too tight and leaning too far downwards. And this one, no, it's pretty shit. Oh. So first of all, we've realised that... sorry, I forgot to get rid of that. Hopefully that didn't do anything. We've realised that our first shot is way too tight. 30 degrees, 30 FOV is just way too tight and you can't see anything. Well, is there anything we can do to avoid this, so that we can actually tell what 30 FOV looks like? Yes, there is. If we go up here and we change the duration of our cutscene to 100 milliseconds, then when we launch the game should launch in with 30 FOV. That's because when the cutscene is 100 milliseconds, for some reason, the game will just launch with whatever FOV. I believe it's your final cutscene is set to. I think it's either the final or the first one. And in this case, they're both the same, so it shouldn't matter. But I'm just waiting for the game to launch. We'll click Start Battle. And you can see that and we'll pause it. You can see, first of all, that the cutscene has started and then ended, and the units are still marching. But now our camera is incredibly tight, and you can tell that this is what it was looking like before when we were in 30 FOV. So this is a very handy way if you want to test out what a particular field of view actually looks like. If we end the battle, we can also change this to 15. So let's just let's change them both to 15. I can't remember which one it is. Let's start the battle. And you can see the camera is even tighter. And this is pretty ridiculous. Like, it's very much zoomed in. If I click N to zoom in, you can see that there's not really all that much further that it can zoom in. This is pretty much as zoomed in and as tight a field of view as you can go, really. We'll exit this, and we'll just undo those changes that we made. And let's bump this up to 50, and bump this one up to 50. Make sure this is still 1700. Now, let's say that we're happy with the first and second shot, but the third shot is too fast. So what you can actually do is you can change this. For example, actually let's do it with the second one. You can change this to 10 seconds. And then if we save that, that's the first shot. And now this second shot is very slow. You can see it's much slower than it was before. And let's say we also want to slow down the third shot. Let's say we want the third shot to be even faster. We can exit that, and we can change the duration of the shot. So we can change this to say, we want that to be done in 2 seconds. And we'll reopen the game. This is the first shot, we've made it wider. The second shot, we've made it slower. And the third shot will be very fast. And you can see that's just ridiculous, way too fast. But you can see that the camera is now paused there, and it was stuck there for a few seconds. That's because the cutscene goes for 17 seconds. So the camera stayed there from 10 seconds to 12 seconds. I mean, the camera movement was 10 seconds to 12 seconds, and then for the next 5 seconds, it was just sitting there. So these are my recommendations for when you're making your cutscene. Your camera movement, let's say you want your shot to last for 5 seconds. You should make the shot last for 6 seconds instead. I'll draw a very quick picture of what I mean by this. So if we go to paint, let's say this is where we want the camera to start. And we want it to start, and this is where we want it to end. So we want the camera to start moving, and it's going to move here. However, you can see it's effectively a sudden start, and then a sudden halt. Whereas if we have the camera start moving from here, and we don't want it to stop moving until here. So the camera is moving fluidly and at a steady pace throughout the entire cut, and even if we cut it here, it still has, let's say, It's not momentum, but essentially momentum. The camera would have still kept on going, but for our cut. This just makes it look a bit neater. I've done a similar thing here with these camera fades, so that it fades out of one shot and then into the next shot. Just so it looks a bit better and it's not as jerky. Perhaps a better way of explaining this would be if I opened up, where is it? The Ambush in Aphelion script, which has quite good cutscenes. So here I've got my camera movement. So I've made notes here. So these are the 3 intro forest shots. And you can see that they're 35 FOV, and this one goes for 6 seconds. 4 seconds in, however, the camera starts fading out, and then 5 seconds in, it starts fading in. At the 5-second mark, the camera starts again, and again, this shot goes for 6 seconds. But instead of cutting at 12 seconds, the next shot starts at 10 seconds. And here, I don't know why that's 1002, that's probably meant to be 1000. From 9 seconds to 10 seconds as these fades out again, and again, this is a 6-second shot. But the next shot starts at 15 seconds. Now you can see that this here, instead of one shot then another shot, I've done 3 shots chained together. So the first shot goes, this is the establishing shot, then this is the camera movement, goes for 16 seconds, and then this is the next shot, which goes for 4 seconds. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like a better way of doing it. I don't really know whether that was a good tutorial or not, but in the next episode will be very short. We're probably going to be looking at how you get little subtitles and little custom audio playing during your cutscene. So, I'll see you next time.